coming up next on Functional Moms Podcast.
People don't realize that the answer is right in front of you. You don't know if you should be eating vegan, you should be eating paleo, you should be eating lectins or oxalates. Just only eat what you cook for 30 days. I know it's hard. You got to figure that out with timing this, that, and the other. I would cook 4 meals at once so I could stock it. And then I would rather you do that and microwave it than sit here and wonder if you need to get rid of your microwave. First, start with only eating what you cook. Watch what happens to you intuitively. You're going to know. And then journal on every day. Journal for 30 days, how you felt, what your symptoms were, what your goals were, okay? And write down what you ate.
Welcome to Functional Moms Podcast, lifestyle medicine for women over 40. Let's age on our own terms. This episode is for you if you or a loved one struggle with gut issues. Whether it's ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease or irritable bowel syndrome, we are going to find natural solutions and some inspiration today.
Our guest today is Dane Johnson, owner and CEO of Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle. Dane was a model, an actor, and on the outside, the perfect looking guy, being paid to be healthy, fit, and sexy. But at 23 years old, he was diagnosed with severe inflammatory bowel disease and his life was torn apart.
Dane, thank you so much for coming on Functional Moms Podcast. We would love to start by hearing your story of going from modeling at the age of 19 to being diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease at the very young age of 23.
Wow. First off, thanks, guys. I love it. And, yes, I did some Zoolander in my time, and it was a blessing as a young man to be given such an opportunity. But yeah, it was pain to purpose. I got diagnosed with one of the worst cases, inflammatory bowel disease you can get. It nearly killed me at 26 years old. I was 120 pounds, 6'2", in a wheelchair. I was housebound for a year. I'd have 25 bloody bowel movements a day. I was told I had to get my full colon removed after I failed biologics. Been on prednisone like Skittles for 4 or 5 years, antibiotics for 4 or 5 years straight, had taken mesalamine and 6-MP and methotrexate, and I just couldn't get anywhere. And I was raised in Virginia, and my family never knew anything about this disease, and we didn't know anything about functional health or medicine. I didn't want anything to do with it. I wanted to eat my burritos and go on with my day and be a kid. And so I was resistant to all of that. And now, I've helped to create I believe, one of the most impactful IBD homes, training centers, communities in the world. And we see 200 people a week, all diagnosed with IBD, some IBS, trained doctors on staff who consult our naturopath doctors, chiropractic doctors, RNs. And so we're here just to, help. And so it's really a pain to purpose and finding real results. And that's what I need. And I think a lot of people out there are just like, where can I get results? And, for me, I just look at where I failed. And one of the problems was I kept listening and hearing and reading brilliant doctors and brilliant practitioners on the conventional side and the natural side, but I couldn't find a coach. I couldn't find someone who had actually been in the boat. Sir, I get it. You know a lot, but you've never had IB. You've never had the blood. You've never been 60 pounds underweight. You've never tried to be able to reverse the results in your colonoscopy. I get it. You're brilliant. You know a lot more than me, but I need a community. I need a plan where the rubber meets the road. Where can I get results? I keep hearing all these theories about the probiotic or the glyphosate or the liver or the endotoxins and all these bad things I can't do. And it's great knowledge, but I'm having trouble applying it and it working. Because I failed with natural medicine for 4 years before I ever got any results. So to me, it was like, how many of out there feel this? I'm the one it doesn't work for.
Sure. And I feel like
it worked for them.
Yeah. And we're also quick, though, to dismiss that something's not working. Like we want to see instant change.
Yes.
And it's a journey.
I call it trying to buy a ticket to heaven. People will write me and go, can you cure Crohn's and colitis? And I'll just respond. I go, I don't sell tickets to heaven because you can't cure anything. I can get you self-empowered. I can get you trained. I can help you build your shield. That's why I call our program Shield, so you can respond to adversity. Because I think the closest thing to this really obnoxious word, cure, it's obnoxious in my mind, is the ability to respond to adversity. Because all three of us right now on this podcast are in remission of gingivitis. You can't cure gingivitis. If Raquel stops brushing her teeth, will her gingivitis flare? Will it come out of remission? Can she guarantee that she's never going to have gingivitis again?
Right.
What about bad days? What about headaches? Can you cure a headache? What about the flu? Okay, can you sell me a program that cures the flu? The reason why society says we can cure the flu is because we know that we got rid of that type of flu and a new flu came the next year.
Right.
So the idea of cure versus remission is if we know the root cause. So what's the root cause of inflammatory bowel disease? Hashimoto's, lupus, endometriosis. What's the root cause? How can you call something incurable when you don't know the root cause? Because they say the flu is curable because we know that type of virus. We get rid of that virus, we get a new one. Well, how do you know you didn't get a new infection? If I've got Crohn's disease and I found underlying blastocystis hominis parasite and I treat it, or I treat the C. diff, Clostridia difficile, and then next year I get a new infection, the doctor will say, no, you're just flaring. We don't know. So for me, I feel like we lose our power mentally when we get diagnosed. The doctor takes our power, stamps us on the forehead, causes lots of trauma, and we go down this rabbit hole of trying to know everything. The science behind health, the science behind the biochemistry, the science behind food. And there's a lot of conflicting evidence. And then we just kind of feel lost after a while.
Can we pause there for a second? When you said the doc stamped you on the forehead, what did the stamp say?
It said ulcerative colitis, and the next doctor stamped me with Crohn's disease, and the next doctor stamped me with ulcerative colitis and gastritis, and then the next doctor said it was widespread Crohn's disease. And so I called it Crohn's colitis. I had life-threatening inflammatory bowel disease.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was 19 when I first started getting symptoms, 22 when it was full-blown diagnosed bad. And then on my 27th birthday, I nearly passed away. So December 10th, 2014 is when I nearly died of IBD complications. And, my family flew out. And my dad flew out, my mom flew out to California. My sisters flew out. They took turns taking care of me in the hospital. I'd feel pain. They'd take a steel plate, put it under my butt, and I'd poop out some blood and water. And they'd dump that in the toilet. And it would happen like every 20 minutes to an hour. I was on TPN feeding tube, so I didn't eat. So I was on a feeding tube, and then I would hit a button when I had too much pain. So it'd give me a shot of Dilaudid. So I had IVs in me for about 6 weeks straight. I didn't move out of a bed, IVs. I'm just getting infused prednisone, infused antibiotics, and infused Dilaudid. If you guys don't know what Dilaudid is, it's basically like legal heroin. I mean, this is a opioid that's 7 times stronger than morphine. So when you're dying, when you're in that kind of pain, I just hit a button. So, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But in life, like Forrest Frank says, man, how do you turn lemons into lemonade, right? I'm making lemonade. I just took the worst thing that ever happened to me and decided I'm going to make it one of the best things that ever happened to me. And now I just try to serve people who are in the same position as me. And my whole strategy and why I'm here today is I just come to life and say, what did I need in my time of despair? And what really works?
Right.
I can say there's a million practitioners that are better than me, but not coaches. I'm the coach. I'm Coach Johnson over here. Let's go.
Right. You said
Yes.
that what you need to be the CEO of your own health. What does that mean?
So CEO is a business term around owning the company, running a company, right? Chief Executive Officer. And if you look at a CEO and they sit down, they look at their board of directors. Now, they're not an expert accountant, but they know enough that they can decide where their master accountant will help take the company. Same thing with HR, same thing with payroll, same thing with marketing, same thing with operations. You have to be able to look at your doctors, your naturopath, your conventional hormone doctor, gastroenterologist. You need to look at everybody and you have to decide where you're going to take the ship, which is your body, your health, your life. What do you identify with? What is going to be your plan? Who is on your team and where are we going? Success, true success is always simplified and constant failure is always hard. You have to simplify your plan into a daily blueprint, a daily protocol that is repeatable. You can be consistent, that is simplified and fits your life, your kid's schedule, your life schedule, you and your husband's schedule, and it's got to work for you. Don't build the answer, build your unique answer.
And by doing that, you're coaching people to do this because
Yeah.
I'm even wondering, how did you go from like almost dying? How did you coach yourself like to where you are today? Because that's a
I,
dramatic change. I mean, a lot of people may
yeah,
never have recovered from that.
absolutely. I was backed into a corner. I had taken every drug on the market. I was at the point where they were saying, we need to remove your colon and give you a bag. And that just hit me like, this is not my life. I was one of those people, fiery soul. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to go off. I took a one-way trip to California by myself without any money or anyone in my phone. Just left because I just always wanted to live where the mountains meet the sea. And I just said, before I'm going to get married, I'm going to build a career. I'm going to go out and first find where I want to live before I find who I want to marry and and what kind of career I want. So I built where before what. And so I was just very convicted. And then when they told me, like, I had this dream for my life, and that's how no one found me in a mall for acting. I was doing movies and commercials, and I was from the sticks of Virginia. I have no one in my family. I had no hookups, no connections. I took a one-way flight. I worked out 6 days a week. I was a personal trainer in college. I happened to be 6'2", and I happened to have a good jaw, and I just worked for it. And I walked in places and they said, you don't got it. And I made it happen. And all of a sudden I'm shooting Nautica, Tommy Hilfiger, Patagonia, Crocs. I'm on set in Bermuda. And 3 months ago, I was sitting in a cubicle with everyone saying, this is your life. You're going to work in a cubicle. You're going to work in Virginia. And, this is it. And so I think I had a taste of, I can create the life I want right before I got chronically sick. I mean, it happened 4 months after I started, having my career really start taking off. I got a manager. I've got agencies all over the world, Germany, Paris, London, Florida, New York. It's starting to take off, and I am getting deathly sick at the exact same time. I mean, I remember, like 5 months into that career, because I was 174 pounds, 6% body fat with a 320-pound bench. I could run 10 miles. I could do 30 pull-ups. I was strong as an ox. I was in great shape. I worked out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, and that actually made me more sick. So we could go a lot of holes. I realized was it the health industry or the performance industry? Because they're not the same.
Good point.
And the more ripped and the more muscle I put on, the worse my bowels got, the worse my skin got. Back acne, chest acne, sleep issues, multiple bowel movements, cramping, pain. I mean, those pre-workouts are terrible. And so anyways, I think that helped me get the mindset that you're not going to rob me from a life that I went out of my way against the grain to build. I had a little bit of rebelness in me. But it took, a few years of depression, anxiety, and pain, but something snapped inside of me. And I just started having these epiphanies, and maybe these epiphanies can help you today mentally. Here's a few of them. I realized that the very best life I could ever have, the very best life and healing IBD were the exact same thing. Think about it. What if you weren't sick, everyone, and you just wanted to invest in longevity? What if you wanted to invest in look better naked? What if you wanted to invest in glowing skin, great eyes, great clarity, great energy without the use of a cup of coffee? What is the difference in that plan, that effort, that mental, that emotional, that physical, that financial investment than actually healing yourself? They're 95% the same thing. So I realized everything I need to do to live my best life, to optimize what God's given me, and heal myself of this disease are the exact same thing. I need to stop drinking alcohol. So what I did is I started making a contract with myself. So once I got my mind right, I realized everything I want in life and everything this disease is asking me are the same thing. So I'm not actually in a bubble. This is actually to me, it was because I started doing prayer and purpose. That was another big thing. I believe that doing prayer and daily affirmations is huge to get over the overwhelmness. So I could go on and on, guys. I don't want to take over everything, but there were certain things like that where I just had these epiphanies that they're the exact same thing, that if something's not working, I need to compound it, not get rid of it. So you could say, well, prayer's not going to do it, Dane. Meditation's not going to do it, Dane. Eating a paleo diet's not going to do it, Dane. But I could say, well, if you do all three of those and go to bed at 9:00 at night and make sure your circadian rhythm's in play, then you add in the probiotic, then you add in the butyrate, then you add in the binder, then you add in the 1 day of fast with bone broth while you're doing grounding and prayer and getting tons of vitamin D, because your body can make 25,000 IUs of vitamin D within 20 minutes of sunshine if 60% of your skin is showing the sun. And it was like, wait, what did he say? That's the answer. You need an overwhelming compounding effect of healing energy, healing effort. And that's how my life changed. And I started with my mind, and I just built some simple foundations we can tackle more if it serves people.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we want to ask, how did celebrating small wins help you on the journey?
Oh my gosh, let me tell you this. So I was a kid when I got really sick, right? And I'm fighting for my life. Everyone here's mothers. Imagine calling your 19-year-old son and he's dying. So she was coming out to live with me, and she lost her job trying to help me out. Her and my dad spent like $40,000. We were a middle-class family. 2011, 40 grand. We didn't have that money. I was in debt from college. I was already $40,000 in debt. So she was doing all that. So one of the things that you're talking about with, my mom would call me every day. How's today? How are you? How's the blood? How's the pain? When I healed my mom. So it was like, when you're a kid, you go, I don't deserve this. I'm angry and resentful. And so I decided to wake up and get happy before I got healthy. That's Coach Dane right there. That's another thing I realized. You got to get happy before you get healthy. Stop living in misery. Stop acting like a sick person. I didn't get dressed for 3 months. I didn't shave. I'm not going. No, when I decided I was going to heal, I got ready for the day, even though I couldn't leave the house. I was housebound for a year.
Yes. Let's go.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
done being
Yes,
a
sir.
sick person. You got to decide if you're going to live in the
Yep.
victimhood. If something happened to you, it's not your fault. Guess what? It's still your responsibility.
Yep.
So I had to man up. I don't know how else to say it. That's just the energy that lives inside of me. I had to find it within myself to say, I'm done being a victim. I'm done being sick. I'm done telling my mom and crying to my mom about how life's not fair, because I can send her spiraling. So she'd call me and I'd say, she'd go, because I started journaling every day. I became the CEO of my health. She'd call me, she'd go, how you doing? I say, Mom, the blood's 30% down. I can heal, because if I can get it 30, I can get it 50. Instead of saying, yep, there's still blood. I don't know what to do. Maybe I should get the surgery. Still blood. No. The blood's 30% down. My bowel movements went from 12 to 8 this week. And I'm sleeping better. And guess what I just read in this book? Guess what I just learned in this podcast? These are the 3 things I'm going to do different this week that I'm excited about, Mom. Let's go. Hey, Dad, same thing.
Yes. You're creating the environment to be able to thrive in, right?
Yep.
The things that you're reading, the things that you're writing about, the things that are coming out of your mouth, you're creating a thriving environment for yourself.
That is the divine. If you put the idea of the divine in one word, it is creator. You need to use your power as the creator. So I looked around and I saw misery. My whole life had turned into, not my whole life, but my house. So things that changed. House has to be clean. Make my bed every single day. Room is clean. Kitchen is clean. I only play positive music. All this secular crap on the TV in my ears is gone. I only play Bob Marley. I play Christian music. I am singing. I am happy. When I wake up, the sun is in my house. I open the doors. I open the windows. I only eat what I cook. See, people don't realize that the answer is right in front of you. You don't know if you should be eating vegan. You should be eating paleo, you should be eating lectins or oxalates. Just only eat what you cook for 30 days. I know it's hard. You got to figure that out with timing this, that, and the other. I would cook 4 meals at once so I could stock it. And then I would rather you do that and microwave it than sit here and wonder if you need to get rid of your microwave. First, start with only eating what you cook. Watch what happens to you intuitively. You're going to know. And then journal on every day. Journal for 30 days, how you felt, what your symptoms were, what your goals were, okay? And write down what you ate. Write down all your celebration meals, because I don't cheat, I celebrate. So my rule is if I'm going to eat something that could be a little off from my gut, I have to actually be celebrating. I'm not on a diet. I've built a lifestyle. If you look at most vegans, the thing I really appreciate about vegans, they're not on a diet. That's their belief system. There's a difference. When I was told I had to be SED, I had to be carnivore, it was like I had to raise the flag of someone's ideas and march forward. And if I ever got rid of this diet, I'd get sick again. That wasn't the reality I was willing to create. So I built something called food philosophy, the ability to look at any plate of food and assess its risk for you at any time in real time.
And is that part of your SHIELD program?
Yep. I teach people. We start with the idea of diets, and then we train people to progress to have food philosophy, complete self-empowerment over what they eat and why. So I like to tell people I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. I just choose not to poison myself. That the same thing's true with a car. Can you guys drive 120 miles per hour if you want to in your car?
Maybe.
You could. You could just hit the gas, get through some mental sphere.
Chris is like, I don't know. I don't want that fast.
I'm scared.
Shit.
Well, I'm not saying we're going to do it. See, that's what's food. We're treating ourselves like children with food. You've got to have the confidence to drive in the snow. You've got to have the confidence to drive in the highway and know when to change lanes and not. But the car has the power. What's more dangerous, the diet or the car? Which one are we more scared of, right? Because we're so used to the car. So you've got to learn. And so it's the same thing with the metaphor with the car. When you're dealing with a 16-year-old with a car, think of food as the metaphor of car. If you're dealing with a 16-year-old, they don't know how to drive in the dark. They don't know how to drive up mountains. They don't know how to drive when it's hailing rain. They don't know how to deal with potholes. They don't know how to deal with bad drivers, on the road with them, or 18-wheelers or things like that. But you guys over time start to realize how subconsciously how to take care of yourself, your family in the car in different environments. That's the same thing we're going to train with food. It's not whether a food is good or bad. It is the manner at which it's prepared, and it's how your body responds to it. Is it high in histamine? Is it high in oxalates? Is it high in phytic acid, lectins? What's the fiber content? How do you do with fiber? How is that in relation to small intestine bacterial overgrowth, small intestine fungal overgrowth, metabolic intoxemia, bile production? Almost every single person I see who's got overweight issues, chronic fatigue, has a stagnant liver. Their liver is not working. It is one of the number one root issues that are not being talked about and not being dealt with.
So that we were going to ask you today, because I actually heard you on another podcast talking about this. And I've shared with our audience before, I have a long history of irritable bowel syndrome, and I have had SIBO, and it, gotten rid of it, comes back, like on the cycle. I've tried like probably every diet you just threw out, like, all of the different
Me and you
options. questions.
Kristen. Yep.
And, and I've been blessed that my symptoms are not so severe that they're life threatening or something, but
Mhm.
they're still there. And, it does impact your day and how you're feeling. My problem is more towards constipation. But our question, I heard you talking about how the liver and the kidneys and the lymphatic system, if that's not
Mhm.
working properly, you maybe can't get better because of that, because you're not releasing the toxins. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you can. And the word I want to put to everyone, I want to get everyone excited. You can't thrive. Everyone through space-time continuum, who wants to thrive, not just survive, not just say, oh, I wish, I could get rid of this bloating, No, let's thrive. I want a 10 out of 10 energy. I want to feel great. I want to have great bowels. And when you do that, how much easier is it now mentally to say, I don't need the things that hold me back from my best life? Because now we're getting on the offense. Kristen's asking an offensive question. She's done all the hard work. Where can I strategically move forward to get myself even better? And that's tough. So when you're looking at that, one of the biggest things she's mentioning here is your drainage pathways. This is how your body releases toxins. You will never stop toxins from entering in your body. It's impossible. We live in a detox world. The air, food, and water, there's toxins everywhere. It's in the fumes of the car, the airplanes come off, chemtrails. It's in the food. It's being sprayed everywhere. It's in the soil. I mean, it would take, 100 years to get rid of the glyphosate just from the body being able to flush it out of its soil. We live in a detox world, and our human body is not innately built to be able to handle these fake chemicals, these man-made chemicals. So 5 detox pathways you have to always focus on to optimize your life: longevity, energy, skin, bloat, flat stomach, all of it, great low brain fog, losing weight. You have to optimize your 5 drainage pathways. That's your liver, your kidneys, your lymphatic system, your ability to sweat, your skin, and your ability to have a bowel movement poop. So Kristen's got a problem here where she can't poop, she can't release toxins. And guess what happens to the toxins? They get reabsorbed into her body and they have to go back through the liver, and the liver has to work on them again. It causes something called metabolic endotoxemia, the recirculation of lipopolysaccharides and endotoxins released from bacteria, from SIBO, and some fungi from SIFO that the liver continually has to deal with. It's like putting a filter on a stagnant pond that doesn't have a stream to off-ramp the toxins. It's like dumping right back into the pond.
Yeah, which makes no sense. And typically, like when you work on your gut health, the liver isn't necessarily brought up.
It's the biggest mistake everyone's making. It's the Robin to the Batman. If gut is the Batman, the liver is Robin, because every single blood vessel right behind the mucosal membrane leads to the liver. If you have leaky gut, everything from the gut, those are called endotoxins, right? When you have dysbiosis, when you have a poor train in the microbiome, which is almost all of us, those toxins, they release, imagine a gas off a bad guy, right? Gas is coming off this bad guy. They get absorbed into the blood vessels, okay, into the body, and then the liver has to deal with them. Now, when you have a strong mucous membrane, mucosal membrane, and epithelial cell lining, it doesn't put as much pressure on the liver. So all of us dealing with leaky gut, if you have SIBO, you have leaky gut. If you have IBS, you have leaky gut, okay? And your body gets overtoxic. Guess what the body does with many of the toxins it can no longer handle? It stores them in your fat. Now your body can't lose fat because it needs it to keep you safe because of the toxicity. If your drainage pathways are clogged, your body won't even allow you to lose the weight.
Wow, that is huge because a lot of our audience cannot lose weight. Like that's a huge thing we see all the time.
You're having 800, 900 calories, 1,200 calories. Over time, it's destroying your metabolics. And then your liver still backed up. You have to start working. So what are some takeaways to start? If you are somebody, let's say you ever gotten a hot bath and you might get dizzy or you might get diarrhea afterwards. Some people who are really backed up, that's what will happen. They'll get in a hot bath, hot shower, and they'll feel worse. They'll feel nauseous. They'll feel like they have to go to the bathroom 3 times. They'll feel like they're getting night sweats. That's a sign your toxins are backed up and you're not moving them well. This is a problem for people with epigenetic issues. So if you have the MTHFR gene or the HLA-DQ gene, you're not methylating properly and you can't detox properly. Okay. So that's a big issue. That's why we never want folic acid. Also, always methylfolate. We never want enriched flour. Okay, you have to get rid of folic acid. Your body can't process it. It'll cause worse problems, more pain, more inflammation. And there's a whole rabbit hole we can go down there. But with drainage pathways, you want to start supporting your ability to poop. So with Kristen, the number one thing I want to do with Kristen, I just want to get her bowel movements moving. There's a lot of ways to do it. So I'm wondering how she does with high dose probiotics, because probiotics is one thing on your Batman belt. So guys, when you become the CEO of your health, you need someone on your team who can help you look at all your options. So if Kristen's the CEO and she's talking to her gut expert on a director and she's going, I'm still constipated. What do you think? You're the director. Tell me. The ship is going great in 100 100 different ways, but this constipation, what do we have? What are our options for constipation? Well, if I was on our team, I'd say, well, we've got magnesium citrate, we got magnesium oxide, we've
I'm a
got
big fan of that, by the way. It does
okay, so
help. Yeah.
so the CEO's going, okay, green light, okay.
Yep.
So now I might dive into her of what dose, how often are you doing, and how do we get you off of it? Because I don't want her chronically on it. I'm also going to be looking at one of my biggest things is high dose probiotics. I want to be able to get her on lactobacillus strains, but a lot of us hercs, people with histamine issues, mast cell activation issues, people with just SIBO cannot take kefir.
Typically, I have done terrible with probiotic. Terrible. Like
What'd I tell you guys? So I'm like Sherlock Holmes. Coach Johnson now is going, okay, can't handle lactobacillus. I already know the SIBO's still there. I already know her endotoxins are overwhelming her body. I'm going to do single strain isolated probiotic and slowly work up on 1/8 of a teaspoon of lactobacillus acidophilus after I prove that I can do the bifidobacterium bifidum, maybe bifido-infantis if she's breastfeeding or she wants to get pregnant. And then I'm probably going to use butyrate to protect the colon. So I'm going to start working on probiotics that specifically target and help the colon so she can poop better. And then I'm going to start slowly working in isolated strains of lactobacillus because they actually build up the terrain in the upper GI. The small intestine is such a problem because there's no mucosal membrane. The mucous membrane in your gut that protects you from endotoxins and protects the liver is strong in the colon. But the higher up you get in the 28 feet of the GI tract, the weaker the gut lining gets. So any kind of SIBO causes this massive proliferation of endotoxins getting into the bloodstream and overwhelm the liver. And that causes MCAS, that causes fermentation where you get bloating, cramping, gas, headaches, okay? And it's basically proliferating candida from the colon. Candida is naturally found in the colon, but when your terrain gets injured, it proliferates up the candida, causing SIFO. The bacteria proliferates. It can actually climb up your intestines because there's no mucous membrane. The slippery slope is gone. So it climbs and it proliferates and it releases all these toxic compounds that are inflammatory and lead to SIBO. And now you can't handle foods. You're not allergic, you're sensitive because you got a weak microbiome. See, it's simple.
Yeah.
See, we just simplified something. Now, fixing SIBO is difficult because you start killing, but your body can't balance the terrain by itself. Kristen said it earlier. She goes, I've gotten it better and then it comes back. Her microbiome can't keep itself in check.
Right. Well, and I wonder, I mean, I had so many antibiotics as a kid. Like
Yep.
that was
There you
like
go.
probably destroyed it,
Yeah,
it
your
wasn't
shield.
starting off well. Yeah.
Yep. Your natural, innate, God-given shield was injured.
Mhm.
And it's the same with me. And it's the same with about 1,000 people listening right now going, this is me too. What can we do? So this is where we have to divorce Western world. And we have to say, I no longer am going to serve a lifestyle that makes me unhealthy. And I'm not going to put fake things in my life. I can eat what I want. I just don't poison myself. With the injuries that have happened to me, to live my best life is to stay away. If I just said I want to live to 100 and not lose my vigor and my athleticism and all that, it's the same thing as healing disease. If you want to optimize your life for the best, it's the same thing. So I say that again and again to say, you got to want this, not need this. Like I have no interest in pizza. I have no interest in alcohol. I have no interest in ice cream with emulsifiers. It's fake, toxic poison, and it disrupts my reality.
But I'm just gonna play to like, what do you say to the person though that wants to have everything in moderation? Like, is it
Go
possible?
for
Does it work? Or is it
yes.
like a no?
No, you can do it because it's a celebration meal. I can eat
Okay.
whatever I want. See, that's what I want. I want to work on our mindset where I free you to make your own choices. But I find that once people start, taking the pill, getting out of the matrix, so to speak, take what I can't remember, was it the red pill, the blue pill? I can't remember how that analogy works. But once you start feeling better and you start removing yourself from chemically based processed foods and you build systems in your life, you actually stop yearning for it so much. And you go, I feel so much better. I look in the mirror. I feel more confident. I have more energy. I think it's a falsity. I think it's a grip on our spirit that we just have to slowly have a personal journey with. I don't want you to have to do it. I want to lead you down a journey and then make your own decision. And I'm just going to lead by example. I don't want to preach. I want to live. And so I want to, that's just where I am. And it took me so long to get rid of Doritos and combos and pizza and gluten. Everything I ate was gluten. I grew up in Virginia. So I'm not saying this is easy, but what I am saying is when you go down this path, I am willing to bet big that you are going to start wanting this life and you're going to stop desiring some of these things because your innate spirit's going to realize it was all a lie. It was all fake. It wasn't real. And our great grandfather who never had a Dorito had just as good of a life as we did. And he had just as much happiness and love and family, but he didn't have to worry about the bathroom every 5 seconds.
It's kind of funny how like every celebration in our life is things that are bad for us. Like we want to eat foods and drink things
Oh
that are
my
bad for us. Like
God.
what is that about?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, Kristen. Say it. Keep going with that thought. New Year's,
yep.
birthdays. What in the heck? Why are we poisoning ourselves with our greatest memories? Prom. This is crazy.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me as a kid. Everyone played beer pong, drank beers. Beer's the most toxic thing out of the whole planet. Yeast, gluten. You know, some of the highest loads of glyphosate in the world are found in Budweiser and Bud Light and Corona.
Yikes. Yeah.
You're talking sugar, yeast, gluten, and glyphosate, and alcohol, the avengers of sickness in one freshly made beer. It's like beer's been destroyed. It's crazy. So, and when you have Crohn's disease, you have 70% of us have an antibody called anti-Saccharomyces cerevisiae antibodies. And that means you want to stay away from brewer's yeast or baker's yeast. So there's a whole depth of this. But if I can take around this and say, okay, this is all great and this is expiring, it's rah, 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 but what are our action steps? What can I do it? Just make a decision to not let your feelings decide who you are. Muhammad Ali felt fear before his fights. Martin Luther King felt fear before his talks. The people who do great things in life feel worry, doubt, anger, fear, but it doesn't define your actions. I'm going to feel cravings. I'm going to feel lostness. And so, it's okay. How did I do it? I woke up with the intention of seeking positivity, and I woke up with the intention of seeking love and light. You have to walk towards a positive adjective. If you don't experience love, commitment, gratitude, peace, hope, just take a word that is a positive energy. If you don't experience it on a daily basis, the negative energies, the doubt, the fear, the worry, the anger, the resentment will overwhelm you and will beat you on that day. But the sun shall rise.
Yeah, and if it will keep you captive. And,
Yeah.
I just want to point out that, absolutely, focusing on gratitude, because when you're being grateful, you can't focus on all your bullshit. But I think that one of the main things that got you from where you were to where you are now is that sense of urgency. You had a great sense of urgency because of the situation that you were in. And so I think where people get stuck is if you don't have that type of sense of urgency where they're like, hey, we're going to cut your colon, and you're like, holy shit, like, I better figure this out.
Mhm.
That's like you're just coasting in life. And I think that bringing that sense of urgency on yourself, like getting that sense of urgency, like, this is my one and only life. This is where I'm at. We were like, well, I'm 20 pounds overweight. And if I keep going in this trajectory, I'm going to probably be 30 pounds overweight in a year. And so on and so forth. So creating a sense of urgency and then taking those steps that you're talking about, I think is such a huge thing. And like for Kristen, like you just heard her say, she's like, well, sometimes it's not always bad. Sometimes I have it and then sometimes I get better. So she's just living her life in this, kind of here, kind of there. But I bet if she took that mindset that you're talking about and was like, you know what, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to live in the mediocre, in the wishy-washy, and I'm making a decision. I'm going to,
I think that's part of it too, like that making a decision, because there is so much noise out there, right? You have like, you got to do keto, you should do carnivore, you got to, there's a billion different directions you could go. And
Yep.
so I think that alone can keep people stuck.
If I could right now, Raquel, I completely agree with what you say. And I want to give people an example protocol right now, because I think a lot of people are hearing this like, okay, what can I do? So I want to give an example protocol and I want to tie it into how this mentally is going to help. And I want to tie it in with how it's going to help with the drainage. Okay. So urgency, yes, but I have to have urgency, but I have to get happy before I get healthy. Most of us, when we add urgency, we have to miserably march forward on a diet and a protocol out of pain and fear. So I have to let go and also hold on as tight as I can, as I've ever done, at the exact same time.
right.
That's what's so hard about it. Because I can hear a lot of people saying like, okay, you got to do this right now. Yes. Get that switch. Find that switch. It was for me, I'm done being sick. I want to optimize my life. I don't want to just survive. I want to thrive. This is my life. Now, how am I going to take massive action, but also get happier doing it? Because we're just delaying the happiness till we lose the 20 pounds. So I got to get happy right now.
Yes.
So an example on that, I need to wake up earlier, but I'm sick. But the kids, but I have all these things. So I am going to decide to go to bed at 9 o'clock. I don't care. And I was 23 doing this. And I had a girlfriend at the time who was, being a saint, we'll say that, to deal with a guy who's dealing with all this. She called me at 9:30. I don't care what you're doing, where you're going. I've already done my prayer and purpose. I'm already in bed. It's lights out and there's no EMF and my phone's on airplane mode outside of my room. I'm going to wake up at 6. I'm going to do prayer and purpose again. I'm going to journal about how my night went because I woke up for like 3 years, 3 times a night to have bowel movements. So I took notes. My day didn't end when I went to bed. I had to heal myself through the night routine. So I did nights and notes when I woke up, prayer and purpose, aromatherapy. Then I'm immediately going to go get a mucosal healing tea. Here's a hack. Stop drinking cold water, only hot water, and then throw teas in for massive cost-effective benefits. Meaning if I want to work the liver, if I want to work the adrenals and adaptogenic herbs, if I want to work the immune system, if I want to work on digestion with bitters, I could put it all in a tea for like $3. Dandelion root, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, pinch of sea salt, Body Bio Elite nano-sized electrolytes in there, ginger, all in a tea. I'm going to take my tea in my robe. I'm going outside. First thing I need is I need sunlight. I need feet in the grass. I took care of about 100 plants when I was sick. So it's 6:15 in the morning. I haven't left the house in 8 months. I mean, I can drive my bike to the grocery store, right? I'm taking care of the cucumbers. I'm taking care of the tomatoes. I got Bob Marley on in the background. I'm sipping on my tea and I've got my book because I'm going to read 20 pages a day of a healing book that gives me solutions. So I don't get overwhelmed mentally and spiritually. I need what's next? What's next? I always need my next thing. I always need, am I doing colostrum? Am I doing serum-derived bovine immunoglobulins? How do I calm down this IgE reaction? What is this Th1 response? Let's learn about this autoimmune Th1. What is TNF-alpha? Why do they want to put me on Remicade? I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm highlighting, I'm taking notes. Mom calls, guess what I just learned? Guess what's positive? Guess what's good? So I'm already starting with the mind with the tea that's going to work on my liver. It's going to help move my bowels because hot water and lemon can help move the bowels in the morning. We're not drinking enough water in the morning. I'm drinking very clean water. And sometimes I'll use distilled water or like reverse osmosis with some other stuff on it, whatever, right? There's a lot of ways you can do water.
Do you have a recipe for this tea? Because it sounds good.
Well, that's the thing. I know, right? Everyone's like, oh, the tea. Just put distilled water in a hot water dispenser that's stainless steel, pour some hot water out, and then just make what you need, customize. Don't build the plan, build your plan. Take responsibility for what you're going to do. Shield, supplements, herbs, imagination, exercise, lifestyle, diet, build your shield. The cure for Crohn's and colitis is the ability to respond to adversity, not to eradicate it. You cannot eradicate anything in life. God's power to us is the ability to respond. And that's where learning is done. And that's where beauty is. Beauty is fleeting, okay? So if health and life is fleeting because death is in remission, that's what makes it beautiful. So that's why we are here to talk. That's why we have podcast after podcast, because it's the journey that we're all fated to die anyways, though, right? So it's the journey of rising and finding our why and being in passion. So the T is like, what do I need? Where are you? And so just look at it. You got ChatGPT right there. What are the best herbs to put in a tea if I have a liver problem, if I have mast cell activation?
It's so true. I know the chat GPT, like my brain still doesn't first go to that, but that is yes, duh.
Yeah, go find loosely
You can
organic,
find
get your
anything
own
you need.
stainless
Yes.
steel steeper and make your own concoction, do it in there. I like lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, because when you have GI issues, you need to start with digestion. You're having food sensitivity because you have a low stomach acid, you have poor liver function, which produces bile, which break down fats and helps you absorb your fat-soluble vitamins, ADKE, and you also have poor pancreatic function, so you can't properly assimilate the proteins and carbohydrates and vitamins and minerals into the small intestine because you don't have the pancreatic enzymes. That's what the raw vegans taught us, right? I looked at every famous diet and I just cherry picked. I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that. That sounds great. So it's like, that's where you say, okay, I have my tea, now I've got morning sun, now I've got grounding. So I've already worked on liver support, digestive support, microbiome support, nervous system regulation, and spiritual support by giving myself solutions. And it's 6:45 in the morning.
But you had to get up early.
9 to 5 is your sleeping schedule.
Out of all that,
9
Kristen,
to 5 is the sleeping
you gotta get
schedule.
up early.
I was just kidding.
You've
But
got
I'm
kids,
just
go to
saying
bed with
what
your
a lot of
kids. Go to
people would
bed.
say. Like people are like, oh, I don't want to get up 15 minutes early. You know what I mean? But then that
So
is an
what? So
excuse.
how bad do you want it? Okay,
Yeah, how
it's not a
bad do you
matter
want
if
it?
you can. It's
see,
a matter if you will.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So that was my point before. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, what she just said, right, is because you have to create the sense of urgency for yourself. Like, if this doesn't happen, this is going to happen. If this doesn't happen, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it's like that sense of urgency. But how am I going to live from where I am to where I want to be, which is what you're saying. You're
Hmm.
choosing to be happy. You're choosing, to read the scriptures. You're choosing to journal because you're writing the script of how you want to be and the steps that you have to take. I love when you said in that there was an interview you did and you said, I am being Dr. Dane
Hmm.
and talking to patient Dane about what has to happen. That was so cool, right? Because
I'm putting his button check.
you're taking on the roles and it's like, you're creating yourself because, it is like when talking about like the creator, right? He created and he created us to be creators. So that's really amazing. So being mindful of our time, what are two things that a person can do today to take care of their gut health and age strong? If you had to pick two things out of all the things that you said.
I think get happy to get healthy
Mhm.
and win the morning, or is what coming to my heart right now? Because I just kind
Okay.
of gave you that morning, and you become and you think what you feed yourself. If you read every single day Tony Robbins, within 2 weeks, you'll be actually probably telling your friend something you read Tony said. If
Yeah.
you read every day this great functional doctor, you listen to this podcast every single day, it starts to rub off on you, right? And so,
Absolutely.
I think that's, win the morning to win the day, I believe. And start with positivity. You have to run towards a smile. You can't just talk about it. You have to experience positive things to get a physical change. You have to experience it, not just think it, right? And so right now we're in this thing where you want to jump listening to this podcast, but just know doing this is great for the spirit that allows you to take better action. Because if you're excited today, I bet you're going to eat cleaner the next few days because of the ripple effect of positivity and hope. So we have to keep feeding ourselves hope. We have to keep feeding ourselves clarity. We have to keep simplifying the problem and get connected with like-minded community. When I
Yes.
have something called IBD University, and there's about 1,500 of us all diagnosed with IBD who talk every single day. It's like Reddit, Google, YouTube, and Facebook only for IBD. And we have doctors going live, naturopath doctors, chiropractic doctors. We have mental health coaches going live. I go live every Tuesday. I just did a whole live on pregnancy, and we had 3 women in our program who had perfect pregnancies, sharing what worked for them for other women who are trying to get pregnant with IBD. And it's like, guys, I can only go so far with what I'm going to tell a woman when she's pregnant on what she should do and what she should take. And Mackenzie came, and Mackenzie was like, oh yeah, I was putting turmeric in my elemental shake. I had at least 15 plants in that smoothie, and I was doing cauliflower and getting high sulforaphane from the broccoli sprouts. And I used a little ginger for the nausea, and perfect pregnancy was way better than the first. And the first, she was not in the program. The second, she was in the program. She had a symptom in 3 years. And so it's like, that's just members talking to each other. And I'm kind of leading that. So find a community, find a training center that has integrity and can earn your trust. Realize healing is not linear. So get on the journey. It's just like anything. It's like marriage. It's not linear. A relationship with God is not linear. Being in great shape or loving yourself isn't linear. Nothing in life is linear. It's all the same. So come to life in the way that helps you win. That's like, I'm just going to dedicate myself to divorcing the falsities of Western world life. And I want to be surrounded by people who agree that they want to be self-empowered. They want to have self-love in their food, self-love in their family, self-love in their hearts. And I want to feed off them, and I want them to feed off me. Because your best friend, two best friends are people who make each other feel the best the most often. That's all it is. It's consistent positive energy is all your best friend is. And so best friends want to go above and beyond for each other because they constantly make each other better. It's a win-win. Be a part of a win-win family. Be a part of a win-win community, and start with yourself. I needed to stop. I didn't mean to, but I was giving my mom L's because I was telling her all what's wrong, and I couldn't tell her what was right. So I had to start giving her wins before I could get wins back from her. And I had to start giving myself wins. I'm already healed. Time hasn't caught up yet. I'm already happy. I'm already finding a reason to smile. Hey, Dane, you okay? I'm fine. Tell me about you. I was depressed because I was no longer of value to others. Be of value to others. Call your best friend. Help the lady cross the street. I couldn't walk, but I wasn't 95. Praise God, right? I'm like, you got to find a reason to smile. So when you start with that, then you can take massive action and you simplify success. I didn't know what to eat. I tried fruitarian diet. I tried carnivore diet. The meat-based diet helped me the most. So I tend to work on that and then customize it, but I've helped plenty of vegans get massive results. And there's some benefits with plants that I think carnivore are missing. I disagree with certain things. I think there's massive benefits with some plant food. They have to be used strategically. But all of a sudden, I only ate what I cooked for 75 days. And I had way more intuition on how I felt. And then I took what my intuition was saying in my journal. Okay. You guys can I have a 60-day healing journal. You can print it out and you can write it all through it. I have my clients deal with that. And then I would just look at what my journal told me and what the famous diet said. And I would just relate them. I'm like, oh, when I interviewed Dr. Gundry, he was telling me about the grains and the lectins. I was like, oh, I think you're right. Because when I pressure cook and soak any millet or quinoa, I do way better with it. Because
Wow.
I didn't do well with polysaccharides, which is what the SCD diet and AIP told me and the paleo diet told me. Get rid of grains, against all grains, right? Danielle Walker style. And all of a sudden, I was like, yeah, but I want to be able to handle rolled oats if I want to have them. I know Dave Asprey says they're crap, but I actually do like some oats. Okay. And I don't think they're crap. I actually disagree. And, and I deal with people in India who eat millet and eat quinoa. And I like quinoa in certain ways. I like a little bit of beans and things like that. So all of a sudden I found that his protocols, right?
Yeah. I mean, I love how you're saying to journal this out is so key because it
Yep.
becomes this confusing mess where like you're not sure, oh, did I eat that the other day? I don't remember, but now I feel off. So it's that journaling process sounds amazing. And you said you can get that on your website. Is that what you said? Or
Yeah. You know what? Just remind me. I'll put a link below in the show notes,
oh,
guys.
great. Okay, perfect.
Link it low in the show notes. But an example thing is like I might wake up on a stainless steel pan, have 4 over easy eggs cooked in ghee, and drizzle a little raw olive oil over that later on because raw olive oil is way better to have than cook with it. And I might have a little bit of avocado with some Celtic sea salt or a different type of clean salt. And I might have pressure cooked, no seed, no skin veggies on the side if I'm ready for them. I might have a little bit of purple potato high in anthocyanins. I might have grounded white meats because my body can't handle red meat steak yet because my digestion's not strong enough. It's not that it's bad for you. So I'm ready for it. I might make my own elemental shake focusing on fruits because they're monosaccharides, 80% water, very light fibers that clean the colon. So when I'm talking to Kristen about constipation, I'm also another one. I'm thinking, how is she doing with fruit? I bet she does pretty well with papaya or
I
melon.
don't know, actually. I don't think I eat that, but okay.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's
Yeah.
80% water. It's one of the best things to move the bowels because
Okay.
vitamin C helps move the bowels too and bile production. So I'd be working on the liver, I'd be working on bile production, maybe a little TUDCA, a bile salt, TUDCA, but you have to go slow, know what you're doing. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, as a landmine if you don't know what you're doing with that one. But I might use a little papaya. I had a guy, one of the most constipated clients I saw, also diagnosed with lymphoma. And we started using high amounts of papaya because it was the only thing to get him non-constipated. It's one of the highest foods in the world of vitamin A and vitamin C. And it's 85% water. And it's an alkaline forming fruit, meaning it's non-acidic. When your gut is irritated, you want to stay away from pineapple and kiwi and things like that because the acidic fruits are irritating to an injured gut. You want to use alkaline forming, so that's going to be pears, melon, papaya, maybe broken down apple, and it has apple pectin, which is a natural binder, right? Fiber is nature's binder that binds those toxins from the SIBO. I mean, we could do 4 hours on this, guys, but these are some simple things of like start cooking the right way. The number one cardinal rule that I want to give you, one of my last points here is it's not whether a food is good or bad, it's the manner at which it's prepared. The most important thing is not tagging one food or one theory against each other. It's the manner at which it's prepared. If I take a perfect piece of chicken and put a bunch of black pepper and spices on it and I barbecue it up and blacken it, you're going to feel terrible on that. If I take a conventional piece of chicken and I turn it into a congee or a chicken soup, you're going to do much better on that. The most important thing is the manner at which it's prepared. So start, journaling, try to make your own food and try to find ways that you can get happy and healthy at the same time. And then do things that you can get consistent because consistency is worth more than perfection. Don't try to build Rome in a day. Give yourself a year, but can you get happier in that year? Can you heal your relationships? Because the year I was healed, you know what also healed? My relationship with my father. I called him and apologized. What 24-year-old boys doing that? I was mad at him. No, I got good. I got right with my dad. I started getting right with God. I stopped telling everyone what was wrong. I started telling everyone what was right. I changed spiritually as much as I changed physically. I really feel like, and I tell people, I'm like, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it's tough love. I know 18-year-old men and 40-year-old boys. How are you going to deal with these feelings and where are you going to go? Because it's not just you. Okay. This is bigger than you. It's our families. Because I knew I needed to be this, the kind of father I needed to be, this kind of son I wanted to be. So I just look for any reason to inspire myself to get consistent and get happy. If you can't stick with that way you're eating for 3 months and be okay, then it's too hard and you need to simplify it emotionally and spiritually. Forget a diet, build a lifestyle. That's what the vegans did.
I love it. I love that. Build a lifestyle. Well, I want everyone to know you can visit Dane's website at crohnscolitislifestyle.com and also connect with him on social media. His YouTube and TikTok handles are at Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle. And on Instagram, you can follow him at Dane Johnson 1 or Crohn's Colitis _lifestyle. And we will link all of this in the show notes. And we will also get that journal from you. That would be amazing if we could link that in the show notes too.
Absolutely, guys. And I'm going to put a link if anyone wants to do a free IBD session. It's completely free, no hassle, no gimmicks to see if we're a good fit. It's an hour long with one of our community sports specialists. I'll put a link here and click on that link so we know you came from Functional Moms and we can make sure we give them praise for that. So
Awesome.
thank you, guys. Healing is possible. I hope today was very helpful and useful and there's some great takeaways.
Thank you, Dane. We need your support. If you're enjoying the show, follow, like, and subscribe. Thank you for aging strong with Functional Moms Podcast. We would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment or review. Email us at info@functionalmoms.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button.